cake pops?
Yeah. Cake pops are good.
I do like the cake pops at Gusto's.
Oh, I've never had one.
Which is a proud sponsor of the Aired Out podcast.
They are a proud sponsor of the Aired Out podcast and of the Barre Beat and of It's No Secret and of Four Quarters.
Wow.
Just telling.
Interesting.
I mean, we're all one big happy family here.
We are one big happy family.
Although,
just for the record, I don't make any money off this.
No, you don't make any money off of this at all. That's how you earn your keep, though, is by helping us advertise.
Occasionally
giving some plugs.
Giving some plugs to Gusto's for their cake pops, which are yummy. I will say that, so first of all, let's welcome everybody here to the Barre Beat podcast live from Fly on the Wall Production Studios, Main Street, Barre, Vermont. Mm-hmm. We're here with kind of a little early today, but
and I'm like trying to mess with this because I want to be able to see people's comments.
You want to be able to see comments?
Yes, so I need to get my phone turned on.
Yeah, you have to fix that. So we're going to be having a conversation tonight about the homelessness encampment meeting that we had tonight, and
right,
I know
we just
that
came from that.
I know that Raylene has lots to say about that. Yes,
I do. I have lots to say about that, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to say it tonight because unfortunately, the chair of the Planning Commission decided that we were not able to be a part of that meeting, which was super unfortunate because we were invited by the city to participate, and I feel like we have a lot of really good opinions that could have been helpful, and we weren't allowed to share those tonight, and that's very unfortunate. And what I really hated is that it was said that the commission decided no. Because I was never asked my opinion.
And what's your opinion?
That we should have participated.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you with that. I mean, it was the fact that it was the manager asked for the Planning Commission Homelessness Task Force,
right,
and the Cow Pasture Committee to be there and to have this conversation. I would agree with you that it probably, out of deference to the manager, even if you didn't feel that it was, I would kind of agree
or
with
you should have at least had respect enough for all of the people within your team and commission to have a discussion to see how you all felt about it and not make a decision on your own. True. Sorry. I know you're the chair, but that doesn't make you king. Sorry. You still we work as a team. We're supposed to work as a team,
right?
Though
I mean, I think
a ball team has a captain as well, but the team doesn't make it to the playoffs unless they're all playing together. The captain doesn't do it on his own, and so that's just the way I look at it.
No, I understand. I understand. It's I get where he's coming from. He's not inaccurate. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I understand, and, that's all.
But it should have been a conversation.
Yeah.
And then don't say things like the commission decided. No, the commission did not decide.
Yeah,
you decided.
Nicholas that said the commission decided, but.
Yeah.
Right. But.
No, I think Michael did at the very beginning of the meeting when he spoke.
Oh, I didn't know that he spoke.
He did.
Didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, that's just the way I feel about it.
All right. So we're going to talk about homelessness, specifically the encampments conversation that we had tonight. Raylene didn't have the conversation.
Right. And right now, I'm just a citizen with my sitting in my own chair at my own microphone, and I can say whatever I want to say. And so I have lots of things to say. First of all, the entire camping thing is a hard no for me. Yeah. I'm sorry. I feel it's just a hard no for me. I don't want tents all over the city. I don't want. I know what happens. I know that they say, currently 20 or 30 people and it's been happening here for years. I agree with that, and that I can deal with. I think we've always dealt with it well. I think surrounding towns deal with it well. We are fortunate to have Officer Bassett in the Berlin Police Department that works very much hand in hand with the homeless themselves. He's well aware of where encampments are, how to access them. He has a good rapport with many of the homeless. I believe that Erica Rail has a similar relationship with many of them. And so those two people we should be very grateful for in the information that they're able to provide to us. So I don't have an issue with that. Yes, it's been going on for forever. I mean, back when I was a kid, and there used to be people that would tent along the bike path, even back then, and then along the old railroad beds. So I lived on Berlin Street, and we would often walk down to Ward 5 to play on the playground. And just above Ward 5, if you're headed back up the hill like you were going to go towards, I think it's Dagmont. But if you start headed back up the hill like because you want to go in the direction of Berlin Street, John Street, so you're headed back up the hill towards John Street. Onto the left or the right, there's the old railroad bed. And you can take that railroad bed all the way over. It will come out somewhere on, Bassett, maybe, that area. It comes out anyways, quite a ways across town. You can take that railroad bed for quite a ways. And people camped out there. People camped on the top of Berlin Street and Prospect Street. So you go to the top of Prospect Street, and across from the Bond Field, where the power plant is now, and then there's houses there now. But we used to sled. There was a big hill right there, and we used to go sledding. And there's fields and fields and fields between. So right there, all the way over to Berlin Health and Rehab. And there used to be a lot of encampments out there. And maybe there still are. But anyways, that we can accommodate. The issue becomes that tonight I hear, but we're not talking about 386 people. We're talking about, that we know some, and so we need to allow that. Well, I agree with Rosemary. They've already been doing it. So how about some do that? And if we're not expecting all of those people, then why we ask the state of Vermont for money for all those people?
That's a valid, I think.
So who is playing wishy-washy here? That's my problem, is that we want to have a conversation. Then let's be truthful. Let's be honest about what we're asking for. If you're asking for money to care for 386 people, because that's how many you're told are in Washington County, then be honest and upfront about that. Don't say, there's not going to be that many people. Then why are you asking for that much money? You are preparing yourself for that many people. So be honest about that and say that, and don't lie to people, so that then in 3 months or even in a month from now, when truly there's way more than 20, 30 people, even 40 people, everybody's pissed off. This is how we constantly all stay pissed off all the time. Just say it like it is. Stop the games.
So I'm going to go on and talk about I just saw your eye twitch.
I'm not surprised.
I don't know if everybody else saw that, but Raylene's eye definitely just twitched.
I'm not surprised.
So, yeah, we obviously, I've made my comments very clear about encampments. I'm held to the no. 100% no to encampments. And Josh makes a very valid point. And he's like, can we do it on Orange and Camp Street? No, we can't do that. There's no sidewalks. Oh, wait, there is a sidewalk on Orange Street. But no, and legitimately, like the thing with, and the frustration that I have with encampments is that if we allow it, we are saying that you can come here. Whereas what we have been doing,
they will come.
Correct. And what
we've learned that with the hotels.
Exactly. The hotels is 100%. You know, you've got that issue where if you do build it, they will come in. And we say they, and you know, there's people that really need help.
And right? I agree. Like when I heard that woman speak tonight about the elderly, veterans, people that work and have children, or people that work and just are truly struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet because they don't make a good wage. They're maybe a single parent, even a two-parent household now, depending on what kind of position you've been able to have. And the housing market is absolutely insane. I mean, the prices for houses are high. Building is high. And so here's a plug for Fecto Homes. They have all kinds of single wide trailers and options, so places to put those mobile homes, and they work with people constantly to try to help. And they do, so they are a resource that is very much underused at the moment. We could, people really truly should reach out to them because they do have options and very affordable options. I thought it was interesting, and I'm here's a zinger right here. And you're gonna, I know, I'm ready for your eyes to twitch. So we're looking at the maps of places that you could possibly camp. Now we all know that Prospect Street Heights failed because this grant was suddenly pulled out from under. But what's on the map for encampment possibility?
No,
Prospect Street Heights.
Really?
It's right there. The field, the on the maps that they were showing of possible places to camp, right there it is, boom, right at the top of Prospect and Berlin Street. Now, right there, you can, as you sometimes say, never on air, but I'll say it, fuck around, find out. I'm telling you what, that would not be a good situation either. You can't play this constant game with people. And I have somebody is playing a lot of games. And you know how I feel about that. There's a lot of games being played right now. All of these things keep failing, and all of these things that fail miraculously become a part. We buy the cow pasture back. Oh, let's camp there, right? Let's sell the Wheelock house. I know. Let's camp in Prospect Street Heights because they didn't get their grant money now.
Well, wow.
Do you know it's illegal to stack a deck?
I'm not going to go down that route.
They'll haul you out of a casino and drown your ass for that. I'm just saying.
I will say, so we did discuss the cow
and pick you
pasture. And Josh makes the comment, Joshua Akers. He says,
my new neighbor.
Your new neighbor?
I'm so excited to have them.
Nice.
I love to hear the kids laughing in the neighborhood.
I'm very disappointed that they moved.
Yeah, I love having them.
Yeah, disappointed, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
How would a homeless encampment generate downtown economy and tourism?
It's going to destroy it even more than it is already.
You could watch it would create YouTubers would go to our city and take pictures.
But that's not even, it's not even funny though. That's terrible.
No, it's not funny.
You know, we have worked so hard to build it back up.
I agree with you.
And we're trying to drive it back into the ground.
Exactly. You're 100% accurate.
Like,
you know,
what the fuck are we doing?
For 13 years I've been on city council. We have come so far And to see us go in the opposite direction so quickly is terrifying.
And I'm not saying that there are many people that I would help. There are many people that I help all the time. There are people that every Sunday I provide meals for because I feel bad for them. I would like them to have at least one home cooked meal a week. I've been doing that for years.
Well, enough ministry does. Isn't enough?
Yes, they do it. But it's still soup kitchen stuff. Like I literally bring a few families this really nice Sunday dinner that they can have every Sunday and just so that they have a nice dinner. I've been doing that for years. There's all kinds of things you can do to help people. I help people all the time. If we all did a little bit in our part, which I think the majority of us do, just nobody really knows about it because we don't have to always be tooting our horn about it. I mean, it's just what we do because I actually think that this city is a pretty compassionate and amazing place to be. And I really think that, and Josh and Sarah of all people knows, I mean, look at some of the stuff that her family has been able to do for this community and in the surrounding communities, the thousands and thousands of dollars raised for people that need our help. And so I'm so tired of hearing that we don't care or that we're mean or that we're vicious people, that we're hateful, that we're homophobes, that we're this, we're that. That is so not true at all. What we are is a bunch of residents that have lived here for a really long time that are tired of watching things just go to hell so quickly. And we're tired of having people tell us how horrible we are.
Yeah.
And that's in the breath after they say, we moved here because we visited it. We loved it here. We felt so comfortable and safe, and we just loved it here, and we wanted to be a part of this community. That's one breath. And the next breath is, you're the most horrible people we've ever met.
Yeah. So I think the meeting, I think it was interesting to hear what people were saying. I'll say this.
But we didn't accomplish anything.
We didn't. We gave some information and I say I wasn't really participant because I was out in the hall watching it on Zoom with a couple of other
standing room only, which is nice to see. I was very proud.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. There's another thing. We were very proud that many people cared enough to come out and use their voice.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to start seeing more of that. We need to see that more and more and more, where people are willing to come out, stand up and speak up.
Yeah. That's absolute. We do need a lot more people coming in
and we need a lot more people voting.
If we had this wouldn't have happened anyway, whatever. I won't say. Man, that was close. You are correct. You need more people coming into the council chambers to let your average, because one of the things that people don't understand is that if you don't show up as an average individual, then you get the people that are advocates for things. And,
they're telling everybody how you feel.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case. Like I'll be honest with you. When this went down, when we started talking about this, I actually emailed Nicholas and I said, be careful. This is a propeller blade and you're going to walk right into it. And like anyone that was supportive of encampments in that room walked into a propeller blade. I mean, literally people were not snapping. They were clapping.
They were clapping, and they were clapping loud tonight.
Right. And I think of Barb Druge, who is a watcher, and she's she came in there and she was telling her story about how she lives right next to the cow pasture, and she said that she can't see. And
she's
I went up
legally
to her.
blind.
Right. I went
Yes.
up to her afterwards, and you can tell she can't really see.
No, I
So,
startled her because
yeah.
I walked up to her and touched her, and she didn't, and because I forget sometimes, and yeah.
And
she was afraid.
Zachary, you're right. Homelessness can happen to any one of us at any time.
Absolutely.
We're not referring to
No.
So there are things that
we just want to take care of our own. We don't want to take care of an entire county in
Correct.
one little city. If you live here and you need help, or you're homeless, and we're going to help you, and we're going to give you a place to stay, that is different than saying that 386 people from Washington County could possibly end up here in Barre City. We're just saying that for many, many years we have taken care of our own, and I think that we've always done a really good job doing that, and I think that we would take care of you too.
Yeah. And going back to Barb, who was talking, and she was explaining that she's fearful, right? And I get it. I mean, she can't see beyond, 20, 30 feet. And she lives right up, she abuts the cow pasture. So she was concerned.
Yeah.
And people always say, well, that's not being very nice about people that are homeless. But we hear the police reports coming out of the hilltop, right? So it's not an unfounded concern.
Right.
So when you are in a neighborhood that basically doesn't see, that much trouble, you're not expecting the city to dump, folks that are not, it's not a good place for them. I mean, and people brought up ticks, and people roll their eyes about the ticks, right? Yeah. Well, let's put people that are homeless who have not really good health care, right? Let's
or
put
hygiene,
them, or
because it's even accessible,
right? So let's put people that are homeless that don't have access to health care, put them in a field where there's ticks, and then they can get Lyme disease and make their lives even worse. Sounds like a great idea. And I know that somebody had brought up
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And somebody had brought up that, I think this was online actually, where they brought up that there's bears up there, right? And we're talking about safety of individuals, and for the advocates that are, saying, well, they need a place to camp. Okay, fine. Not at the cow pasture. That's not a good place. Potable water. There's a river there. Do you want to be the person that's saying, well, go drink out of the river? That's terrible, right? So I think the resounding message that came out tonight was no to the cow pasture. And then the conversation switches to, well, where then? And the problem is that when you designate a spot, you will have people go to that spot. And that's not just
whether they
individual,
need to or not. Correct.
Yeah. And it's not just, the people that live in our community, the ones we always talk about, folks that are here. Like I have little to no obligation to someone that moved up here in February. I'm sorry. You came to Vermont for the voucher program.
Right.
I don't have a lot of obligation personally to you.
Me either.
Now, the person that, was living here for 20 years, has 2 children or 5 years, right? Has 2 children, and okay, I have an obligation. I feel relatively obligated to that individual.
Me too.
And my, and I think in those circumstances, I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No, me either.
Because I'm willing to bet you that they could get some sort of voucher from, the state because they have
subsidy
children
or help.
Right.
And it would be much easier to say. It would be much easier for the city to even say, or the state or whomever to say, okay, we're gonna buy this one place so that there is we are gonna put a tiny home place in somewhere, and we're gonna take care of these people. Let's find out who is actually Barre City, Barre Town, how many of them, and what we need to do to help them. whether it be help with housing, food, clothing, work search, addiction counseling, mental health counseling. Let's find a way to work with those people. That's within our means. That we can do.
Right. Can't do encampments, though.
No, we cannot do encampments. And it's not even, why would you want to do that to anybody? Like, if you want to go camping and you want to go to Groton and you want to go to Groton for the weekend for fun, haha, that's one thing. But to live that way, come on.
In the comment, I was speaking to a constituent yesterday, and she said, well, why don't we have the option to send folks to the campgrounds, and the state should pay for that, right? Because that's just, honestly, that's fair, because the state caused this problem. And when I say the state, I'm not necessarily, because I think the legislature was the one that really made this happen. They kept on feeding this problem. And I just, it's so frustrating. It's really frustrating in general. But, I think from what I got, and you could correct me on this, but what I got was folks were obviously no to encampments, period. It's full stop. There was some discussion about porta potties, and the conversation was where to put the porta potties. And there was, put them up at the cow pasture. Although, and I thought about this.
If you're not going to be camping there, why do you need them up there? Anyway.
Exactly. And that's very accurate.
And if we are going to have people camping and there's going to be a lot of people, or a lot of people housed in the BOR, then we need to have the porta potties and the shower units, but at the BOR. Not
if they're up at the BOR. I mean, honestly, the facilities are available for the BOR.
But is there enough?
But the problem
depends on how many people are there.
We could definitely, the BOR could accommodate the 387 that was
even with the showers and toilets,
because it's an emergency shelter.
Okay,
you could do it. And
I thought the auditorium was. I didn't think the BOR was.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. My mistake. But you are,
and
okay.
I very much agreed with Nicholas when he said the reasoning for the BOR over the auditorium is that the BOR is literally contained. There's not all kinds of other spaces that you have to worry about cordoning off and figuring out, because other spaces are used in their office spaces and lots of other things. And so you would have to figure out how to do all of that. So that's why they chose the BOR, and they could just use, cubicle-like petitions. And so I understood that. But I think the facilities over there are a little bit different. Yeah.
No, that's a very good point.
And I knew that the Spalding locker room would be off limits. Spalding locker rooms. So the public ones that are current public spaces could be used, but the Spalding High School units would not be. So that's what I was originally told.
When I heard that brought up, I almost popped my head in there and said, as a school board member, I say no.
I know, it's hard.
I was very close to doing that. But yeah, it's just,
the whole thing is hard, but, and I want to help whoever I can. But I want those people to also be willing to help themselves. And for me, veterans come first.
Yeah.
They just do. And then kids. And
absolutely.
And they're like really tight together. But for me, just veterans it's just, we're here because of them. And I hate that they suffer so much and that they're left behind so much. It's
but
startling.
I don't
to
think
me.
this conversation is going to have any effect on that.
No.
So
They said tonight though that one woman chimed in. I forget her name, but she said what the percentage of veterans were, what the percentage of people 65 and over were, and then what the percentage of mother and children were.
This is what I don't understand, and maybe you can help me out on this. So we've spent billions of dollars on homelessness, and I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if we spent billions of dollars on homelessness in Vermont, and yet, like, I feel like nothing changes,
we have no
nothing
solution.
gets better. And all we have are all these advocacy groups who are, getting.
We need to start being way more supportive of our landlords, understanding where they come from, in their rules, in their thinking. We have to give them protections when it comes to evictions and the process, because a lot of them, one apartment, if you're losing a lot of money, if you evict somebody and you're having to pay for an attorney and it's taking all of this time to get someone out and you're losing all this money, plus they're doing damage, that could sink a ship quite quickly and put a real sour taste in your mouth. And the sour taste then ends up being rents rising, stricter rules, or they just say, screw it, I'm not going to rent my building anymore because this is not worth it to me. And that is happening.
Yeah. Well, yesterday I was at Larry Lozier's house, and he showed me some pictures of it was actually a tenant that I had known. Through my church, we would pick up his children, and he just trashed the place. And it was a little old lady that that sounded really rude, and I apologize to little old ladies out there for everywhere. But it was an older lady, probably 70s, 80s, somewhere around there. And she was cleaning up this mess, right? And cigarette butts everywhere. It was disgusting. Yeah. It was absolutely disgusting. And as a landlord, how can you provide a cheaper rent when you know that you may end up getting that crap? And it's really frustrating.
Right.
I feel terrible for landlords on that level.
Me too.
And to sit there and there's people are like, well, there should be rent control. That's a great idea. Rent control so that now they won't update their apartments and they'll just make it worse for people.
Right.
And that doesn't help.
Yeah,
what would help is to help them, deal with people that are bad.
Very
right?
much.
Very
much.
And we
have to find a way to
welcome Alice, by the way. Sorry.
We have to find a way to support them. We really do. And find a way to change how they feel about it, how they feel that they're protected, and how they right now they feel like they're thrown to the wolves, and I agree with them. They are. Yeah. I did property management. I told you that this weekend for a long time back in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And man, some of the stuff I saw was insane. And some of the eviction processes were crazy.
Well, it takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to evict them.
And that whole time you're spending money on attorneys.
Correct.
and heating and lights still, and you have no money coming in. Yep. And you have no idea what kind of damage is happening in the meantime.
Help anybody. It doesn't help anybody.
No, and so if you're looking for an apartment and you can't find one and you're calling somebody and they're saying, these are my rules, and you're going, well, gee, it's because of the abuse that they've taken over the years, and you gotta kind of take that into consideration. But like I said, I'm willing to help anybody that's willing to help themselves a little bit too. If you have a mental health problem, say I got a mental health problem and let's get you some help. If you have an addiction problem, let's say so and let's get you some help and get you into the right places and into the right circumstance so that in 3 months you're not right back where you are or worse. Let's try to actually take the people that are here that need us, work with those people, and the rest can just be up to the state of Vermont and their own individual towns to figure out, or states where they were bused here from. I said it on Air It Out the other day, and I'll say it here now. We here have met several people that came up from Florida. We met several other people that came from Louisiana. Where people come in here all the time asking, do you know where this is? Do you know where that is? Do you know where I can get this, where I can get that? Moved here with my kids. What can we do for fun? We have people come in here all the time, and they came on buses. And we heard it tonight at the meeting. They got here to Vermont, dialed 211, and they got a voucher. You build it, they will come.
Yeah. And that just gets to the point why we should not have encampments in Barre City. And it's just, there's just no, currently the way, and I was talking to somebody today, we're not saying you can't, we're not like going out there and say you can't camp anywhere.
Right. We're not searching for you.
But we're telling you, we kind of are saying there's no camping areas, but
and
if
it's
you
not
go
necessarily
and camp
safe
somewhere,
for you to be where you
right,
are.
Right. And we're not designating an area. That's not the same as spending our time going out and finding where people are camping and then breaking up their campsites. That's not the same thing. What we're doing is currently what we're doing is, if we get a police call, right, the police will go take care of the problem. And that's, it's not, I understand it's not helping people that are homeless, right? But what at the municipality can we do? We don't have those sources. We're not a social service. The municipality is not a social service. And for those that are trying to make Barre City a social service, let me just tell you, we can't afford it. Your average citizen in Barre City makes what, $38,000, $40,000?
Census said 40 grand.
40 grand.
That's the
40
average.
grand. Your average individual in Barre City can barely, they're struggling to buy milk money. And to impose on us social services, it's just not something that we can do. But that being said, I like I said, earlier, the message I think that was very clear was no to encampments. People were like, when anybody suggested it, like City Hall Park, holy crap. I'll say this. A part of me is like, you put them at City Hall Park, I've already got a name for the village. Because I will absolutely, I will bury people for making that decision. And maybe I'll bury myself for making that comment, but it's not a good thing.
But the other question that gets baited by all of this discussion is, what are the long-term plans for dealing with individuals who don't have a home? Have we even begun to scratch the surface of that?
Right. There's no plans. There's no plans for the homelessness issue. None whatsoever. Because if there were plans, we wouldn't be having this conversation here, right? It's not like we didn't know that this was going to happen 6 months ago when they said, hey, by the way, the money's running out. It's not like we didn't know in April when we talked about this that there would be people coming out. And I will say that frustrates the booger
shit out of you.
It drives me absolutely nuts that we've known about this, and I'm sorry. My personal opinion on this is that our government has made this as a problem. I think it belongs in the lap of our churches, of of us individually, our family members. But the problem is that the government has like taken that over, and then we feel like we don't have to. But there's no plans, in all these advocacy groups. It, again, makes me really angry. When I hear anybody say, this is a crisis, and I'm like, and we didn't know this was coming. I'm like, how did you not know?
Right, right.
How did you not know?
Where the hell have you been? Yeah.
Right, and that's a good point. Megan brings up, how bad was the homelessness before the pandemic? So this is the issue that I've made.
This is what
comment.
We've been talking about tonight.
What's going to end up happening is, Jesse Rosado said it perfectly, and Jesse's not a far right conservative.
No,
he is very much a progressive, and he said, give it 30 days, this will all sugar out. And it's correct. We will come back to homeostasis in 30 days easily, because the people that are from another state that don't really want to be up here except for free vouchers, right? They're going to go back. Okay. People that were taking the free voucher versus couch surfing on their cousin's couch while the kids are watching Rugrats, and they're like, ugh, I don't want to watch Rugrats all day. I can go to
get my own hotel and not have rules
and not have that. Exactly. So there's that. Those people will automatically find a new place to couch surf on.
Yes.
And then, the people that are going there because they want to, and don't tell me it doesn't happen. But people that don't want to, they can't be at the homeless shelter because they're drinking, and they can be at the hotel. And for those that are going to say, well, that doesn't really happen.
Yes,
bullshit.
It does
happen.
Yes, it does.
And on the very night that they were kicking people out of the hotels, there was individuals that were intoxicated and were not allowed to be released. They had to stay in the hotel for another night because there was no other options, and they just kept them there. And so to sit there and say that it doesn't happen, you're a liar. And I ain't having any of it.
And because of the way I feel about other things, I strongly believe that the opioid crisis has really taken off and heightened even more here, since there is a place for them to go when they get here. The majority of the people here in the city would be what they call mules. They're certainly not the drug lords of that's for sure. They're getting their drugs from other states and bringing them here, and then they're muling them. But people from other states certainly have. It's a lot easier to stay in a hotel room and with somebody that's muling for you than stay in their mother's basement or the backyard. And they're certainly not going to come up here in tent. I can guarantee that, because probably they're black Escalades where they're bopping music and all that. It's just really not going to look all that great in the encampment. But I'm just saying that we have a lot to recover from here right now, and I think that it's going to be a slow recovery.
Yeah. I don't know if
as far as us as a community, I think that in the last few years, this community we've really beat the hell out of each other. We have to admit that we are very much at odds all the time, and we have a little bit of recovering to do here.
I'll
with each other.
I understand that, but I will also say that when you come at me with a knife, I'm half tempted to come at you with a gun.
Right.
The Chicago way.
Exactly.
But that's neither here nor there.
Exactly.
It frustrates. I get really hot about that.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But I just think that, unfortunately, that is what's also giving us a roadblock right here. And because the supposed crisis that we're in has a lot of pieces, because there is addiction, there is mental health, there is all kinds of there are battered women. If that's why I say, if we can find out who really is here, and we can take care of our own, Barre City, Barre Town, let's take care of our own.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And do what we can to help them. And then we can truly help. And that, in my mind, is our path forward. Because those people we can truly give a great amount of service to.
I would agree.
And another piece that I haven't heard in all of the discussion is the fact that people need to go to work. There's an element of life that having a job is very important. And there are all these, we're hiring, jobs available. Just look around, drive down any street, commercial street, and you'll see that people are looking for workers. You have a job, that adds dignity and experience to your life. You have the job, you can afford an apartment or a room for yourself. There's an element of pride in that. We need to talk about that as well, and encouraging individuals not only to go to work, but encouraging employers to establish themselves here in the Barre Town area,
and
so that people can have jobs. And that's just all part of the economic cycle.
Yes.
And lifting people up out of poverty. And if we just keep, throwing more money at not working programs, unworkable programs, it's going to drive those people who are working into a poverty level, or it's going to drive them out. They're going to go somewhere else. We're competing on a daily basis with South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, Tennessee. That's our competition. People, you say, oh, well, we're competing with China. No, we're competing with other states. And when folks can look at those other states and say, well, my taxes are going to be half of what they are here, gasoline is going to be a third of what it is here, why am I staying here? There are jobs in South Carolina, in North Carolina, but we want the folks to be here. We want the employers to come here. We want the individuals to be employed. And that is part of the economic cycle that brings people up out of poverty.
Well, I will say that we definitely have employment opportunities here. By far, I mean, everywhere you go, there's a wanted sign, right?
It is.
I mean, I know that National Life is hiring like mad crazy, but nobody's applying, so it's like...
And not everybody, so... Here's the addiction mom hat on me here, in that it's hard for some of them to find a job. My son has been in trouble with the law. He's an addict. He has to attend groups. He has to do a UA every day. He has all of these things that he needs to be accountable for. That makes working super tough. So there is a program called Working Fields. They had an office here in Barre, but now they don't anymore. They're in Chittenden County. The guy only comes here like once every couple of weeks. There are certain employers that are willing to work with him and employ people with addiction issues, and even that, I look at it and I say that's great. They're willing to employ them, but a paycheck is sometimes a huge trigger. And so with the paycheck has to come a little bit of education. It can't be, so in my mind, part of their programming needs to be, because let's face it, the majority of them have they've always lived with family, more than likely. My son he's 32 years old, still lives at home. He's gone out on his own a couple of times. That always fails. It never works. It doesn't. What my son really knows how to do well is hustle. That's what they know how to do well. And some of them were well trained as kids. They grew up in addicted families. That's what they know how to do. So we can do all of these things. You can have 40 help wanted signs. You could give them a job and they could start working for you. And if you are willing to hire someone with that background and those issues, and probably by their third paycheck, there's going to be a problem because they're going to do really well at first, but that gets to you. And so without the support and without the services, which I don't care what anybody says, I'm here to tell you the truth right now. There is not shit for services.
Well,
for
I don't
addiction.
understand. Okay, so
there is not shit.
There's no services, but yet we spend billions of dollars on services. So
not here.
Explain. Vermont does not have. I mean, maybe they don't have like drug services, but I mean, I'm pretty stinking sure there's a lot of money being dumped into homelessness services.
I'm not talking about homelessness services,
but
they're homeless because they're they're addicts. Though, if you're not fixing the problem,
why are we? So we're
fix the problem. Get them mental health help.
Right.
Get them help for their addiction.
Why wouldn't the homelessness advocates and services
that's what I'm saying.
deal with that?
There's
plenty of money being shuffled out onto these nonprofits.
That's what I'm saying. And they don't.
And stop the flow coming in
from
to
out
the
of state.
state.
Yeah.
That's significantly important.
Exactly. Stop the flow and use the money where you're supposed to use it. I'll tell you right now, he was just in a sober living house run by a state program. Okay. It's supposed to be staffed. It is, they're supposed to have meetings every morning and then each evening. There's never been one meeting the entire time he was there. Staff is sporadic. Never anybody there overnight. And it just, a lot of things, okay? You have 4 men living in this apartment house together. All of them are addicts. Some of them have lots of clean time. Some of them are 2 weeks clean time. One of them falls off the wagon. They're all going down. You can't do that. You can't. And how much money do you think that program cost a month?
Lots.
Exactly. Lots. It was lots to get him there. It's a lot of money that program gets every month. Plus they accept Medicaid and Medicare. But it's a half-assed program. So that's what I'm saying. There's lots of pieces to this puzzle. It doesn't boil down to that there's jobs. And yes, a job it does make him feel great. He has great sense of pride. He has a wicked work ethic. Every time he gets a job, everybody has nothing but great things to say about him. Like, oh my God, we wish we had 10 of him. He's amazing when he's amazing. But you also got to find somebody willing to do that. And that's tough and understandable because no one wants to get their stuff stolen or their equipment abused. They don't want to deal with somebody calling out sick all the time or having to leave for this appointment or that appointment. Or there are so many different pieces to this puzzle, and we are never going to fix it immediately. We're never even going to fix it with $2.9 million that would help 286 people or 386 people that supposedly aren't coming, but we're asking for money for them anyway. We have a long way to go with a lot of things, but let's just work with our own, because we could fix a lot with just our own. They do it right in Johnson, only a little few miles away from here. They literally have built like this little city, and it's amazing. You buy your way. You have all the support, but you work for your food, your room and your board. They take you grocery shopping. They teach you how to manage your money. You get a very small allowance every week of the money that you earn. Is that how a 40-year-old wants to live? Maybe not. But hey, it's better than sleeping in a tent in a room. It's better than a tent in the woods world. Somewhere. Yeah. And it's helping you be who you really would love to be, but you just can't be.
And it's in a country,
those are the things we need to look at.
A country such as this, a state such as this, we cannot have people living in the woods. It just is not appropriate. And to just say, okay, fine, here's a tent. I can't even imagine that. And I'm struggling also with the fact that there had been no prep work done to this, that all of a sudden we came to the edge of the cliff and it was Thelma and Louise off the edge. And so now to try to make up time, what is being done? What are the plans? Who's planning it? And how will it be implemented? That's a really big question because it affects everything. It affects the community. It affects the school. It affects the churches. And it's just monumental.
And if we're doing it, they need to find a way to contribute to what we're doing. That's just the way I feel about it. We have city workers that are tasked with keeping, trash picked up and different things around the city, the flower gardens, the raking. There are plenty of little odd jobs around the city that people could do to earn their keep. And not only are they, so that does two things. It gives them self-worth, exactly. and it helps us in return. And it makes it a lot different when you're saying, okay, I'm going to do something for this person, but I know that they're really trying for themselves and they're making an effort. So this is what I'm willing to do for them. I know that mom is really struggling. So I'm going to make sure that I'm helping her because I don't want those little kids sleeping in a tent and trying to go to school or whatever. I don't want that either. But you got to be willing to help yourself a little bit too.
Do we have a number? Do we have a real number of the number of people?
We don't. I don't know if there's a
We certainly
real,
didn't get a number tonight.
But maybe we'll have a number tomorrow night because that's when City Council will weigh in on this and will either vote to approve a spot for homeless encampments or they won't. And it'll be interesting to see what City Council does. And I'm a no, but everybody knows that. Right. I'm in a minority, so. But folks, if you're watching tonight and you're interested in this situation, you should absolutely show up at City Council meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, you should. You should.
Yep.
Your voice does matter.
That's the agenda item. Agenda A. That's going to be one of the first things that we discuss. And then we're going to get an update moving on to our council agenda. Isn't that exciting? We're going to actually just touch on it because there's not much besides that except for, all the appointments, which we'll certainly have a nice little conversation about. So we'll get that update and encourage people to show up. Council meeting is at 7 p.m.
Yes.
City Hall Council Chambers. If folks want the Zoom link, it is on the Barre City Community fan page.
And it will be on
Aired Out. And it will also be on barrecity.org for the Zoom link. And then we also have the Capital Improvement Plan implementation update and assign FY23 designated fund balance to capital fund to support infrastructure improvements. So what does that mean? That is...
Means you're going to be fixing something.
Yes, but the question is how much of that money? And it looks like allocation. So it looks like we're trying to allocate 44,600 in unspent funds to the current fund balance carried over. No, wait. They want to assign 180 in additional unspent funds to the capital fund and 170 in additional unspent funds to the reserve for future costs associated with the Public Works Garage. So I don't know. That doesn't take out, because we have over $600,000 in surplus. A couple of years ago, we allowed for charter change. We did a charter change that allows us to maintain 5% of our budget, because before that, no matter what we had for surplus, had to be dumped right back into the budget to buy down the tax rate. And we changed that about five years ago. So there's that. And then we also have the committee appointments, which you are one of them, the Development Review Board. Do you want to speak on that? No comment? And then, of course, we've got...
I don't even know who's on that one. That appointment.
Are you doing committee appointments? I thought they were having interviews on the 20th.
On the 6th and the 20th.
Development Report. I meant the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Planning Commission.
Yeah, mine's not until the 20th.
Yeah.
Oh, yours. Oh, you're not doing yours. Yep, that's right. I said DR.
T&E and planning.
Yep.
The 20th.
We have Buildings and Facilities Committee, and that's Brent Gagnon, only person. So that's one seat, one person. So probably get that. Development Review Board, there are 2 people for 1 seat. And wait a minute, hold on. 1 seat, 4-year term, and 1 seat, 3-year term. And there's 2 people that are applying. Katrina Pelkey, who's the incumbent, and Colin Doolittle, interviewing for that, and no additional individuals. Transportation and Public Works, we've got Joanne Reynolds, and this is 3 seats for 2 years. There's Joanne Reynolds, incumbent, and Colin Doolittle as well. Then Homelessness Task Force, there's 1 seat for 2 year, 1 seat for 1 year unfinished term, and there's 2 people that are applying for that. One is Chip Castle, who spoke tonight about the homelessness encampments, and Jeremy Spiro Wynn. And then Police Advisory, we have 3 incumbents that are applying. Bob Nelson, Sandy Roos, and Abby Bloom. I doubt that we'll have any problems making a decision on there.
I wouldn't think so.
Then we have Cemeteries, Recreation, and Conservation. 2 seats, 2 years, 2 incumbents, which is Eileen Galander, Mrs. Galander. She was a teacher.
Yes.
And I don't think she listens, but I'll just say, nature's first green is gold. Her heart is hue to hold. It's early leaves of flower, but only so an hour. So leaf subside to leaf, Eden sank to grief. Dawn goes down to day, nothing gold may stay.
She taught you that, huh?
She did.
She did.
She did. That was her class.
There you go.
And Pam Wilson's applying for it. Norina Zanaleone, who's an incumbent. Haley Piro, Sonia Spalding, Jordan Hayden, and Caitlin Allen, all applying for Cemeteries and Recreations. So there's only 2 seats there, so that will be a contested one. And that's a lot of people that have applied for that.
That is a lot.
Let's see here. And, of course, then we're going to be talking about appointment for counselors to the TIF Downtown Action Team. Which counselor would be good for the TIF Downtown Action Team? I wonder. maybe one that was involved in creating the TIF for the city to begin with. That's my thought. Just my thought. That's my thought. My opinion. But, what's your thoughts there?
Don't have a tiff about it.
Don't have a tiff about it?
I hate these chairs.
You hate these chairs? I'm so sorry.
I say it every time.
The thing with all of those municipal creations, they need to be utilized properly. And done well, because they can just get out of hand. Mm-hmm. So that's the important piece, that yes, you need to have folks who care about it, who know about it, and can handle the situation well.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a raucous of a night, huh?
It was.
Folks, seriously, be there tomorrow night, 7 p.m., City Hall,
yes,
council chambers. Yeah, not a big homeless encampment.
And not just tomorrow night, not just because this is a push button, everybody has a lot of feelings about this.
Yeah.
But your voice should be heard more often, and people should know that you're involved and that you're paying attention to what's happening. Not enough people know that you're paying attention to what's happening. And so we need to really sit up and pay attention to what's happening with a lot of things.
Yeah, we do. We need more people involved. I'll say this. So Megan asked the question of what is Montpelier doing about this? Interesting that you should ask that. They're actually going to be talking about opening up their
Hubbard Park, correct?
Well, Hubbard Park is already open for camping, but they're opening up one of their gyms. Not their gym. There's a rec center, I think, that they're
on
contemplating.
Berry Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're planning on opening up that. So, I mean, that's an opportunity for people to go to. Mm-hmm. So maybe Barry doesn't have to do more than what it already does, because Barry City has had the only homeless shelter in central Vermont for the last 30 plus years.
Right. And right now we just did a lot for the last several years.
Yeah. Maybe Montpelier could step up and do something, since they're always the one that
Berlin and Barry have taken it pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right. I think that's it. Do you guys have anything?
Me.
Do you have something?
I'm good.
Want to hear my baby bird story?
Of course.
Sure.
My grandchildren found 2 fledglings, and they were small puffball of black feathers, and they thought they were crows. Mm-hmm. So they did the right thing. They scooped them up with a hurling net, actually, and put them in a bucket and called Grandma, that's what you do when you find baby birds. You call your grandma. So we went over and analyzed these 2 little squawkers and determined that they weren't crows, they were actually grackles. And so that somewhere in the skies above there had to be parent grackles. So we put them out in the center of the yard, and about 45 minutes later, Mom and Dad showed up. And the 2 little squawkers were squawking like crazy, and it was very interesting because Mom told them, she could hear her talking to them, and she told them to hush up, and they did. They hushed up. And then she went down, and they had hopped up onto the rim of the bucket, and she led them away and took them home. Oh. And it was the most interesting thing.
Do you want to hear my fledgling story?
Sure.
So I was down on Main Street after the Memorial Day ceremony, and I was talking to Giuliano Ceccanelli, and we were chatting, and we saw this cute little bird walking across the street, and we were like, "Oh, this isn't good.
Right.
This isn't good." And we were chatting, and we were like, "Well, what do we do?" And so that's it.
Oh, dear.
It was terrible. We were like, ah.
Jeez. Well, but
anyway, with that note,
it's really kind of a miracle to watch nature, regardless of how it ends. But it's so
sad.
It is so
and
sad.
We were like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And then we felt bad that we didn't
rush
go
out
in your hat or something. Like, what the hell? What kind of story is this?
All right, folks.
God, if we didn't have haters already.
I know, now we got
Here we go.
It's terrible, just
Frickin'
terrible.
Bird killer.
All right. Well, you guys, we want to say thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast. Thank you guys for showing up.
And if anyone knows a little girl bear, there's a little boy bear hovering around Tamarack and Sparrow and out toward Windy Woods. So if anybody knows a little girl bear that would like to lure him away, call her up and tell her to come over to Cobble Hill Road and find the bear. He was in the trash cans the other night. Literally in the trash can.
All right. We hope you guys have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. Thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast.
And tomorrow night at Council.
Yes.
Oh, yes, and tomorrow night at City Council.
And enjoy your families.
Yes, and thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast live from Fly on the Wall Production Studios, Main Street, Barre, Vermont. We hope you have a lovely evening.